Hey there, viewers. Welcome back to Ember Productions. Before we get started, I just want to say, from all of us, it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. We're all in this together.
Imagine there's no heaven. Wait, no.
No.
Never mind.
Listen, welcome back to Ember Productions. I'm Maxwell Haddad.
I'm Amber Coates.
And our very special guest, Robert Adams. We did not get to do one of these for episode 6, Herogasm, last week because we were out of town. So in this video,
we're the key episode to do.
Well, we get to talk about it now.
We're still going to talk about it. So in the next hour or so, we are going to talk about both episode 6, Herogasm, and episode 7, which is beautifully titled, Here Comes a Candle to Light You to Bed.
Oh.
That's what I need. Actually, I don't need a candle. My bed's right there, and I love it. So I think my next tattoo is actually going to be coordinates to where my bed is geolocated.
The issue is if you ever move, they will be irrelevant, and that could end up being
I thought of that.
It could end up being like a porta potty on a construction site.
I figured I would just have to change it all the time, like a wino forever type of thing. Whatever.
If they were changeable, you could be this is where my house is.
You could
come over.
You could tattoo either a barcode or a QR code. And so when you scan it, it takes you to a website that has the coordinates to your bed, and then you can just update.
Hey, where's my bed at?
Every time you move.
Well, guys, so we're here to talk about the
future of tattooing. Why don't you take us away, starting with Herogasm? We're not going to do a full step-by-step recap like we have the past couple episodes of this.
We figured out that takes a lot of time, and it's not as fun.
We just want to talk about some key bullet points. Before we get into any spoilers or details, I just want to say, for me personally, about Herogasm, even us here were hyping this episode up. This was the one everyone was talking about. It was all leading to this. And the interesting thing is, and if you've ever, listened to me speak before, or you follow me on Twitter, I'm a big proponent for doing one's best to separate out hype when it comes to watching something. You need to approach anything you watch in a vacuum and just critique it and enjoy it and engage with it in its own context. And maybe I failed my own lesson here a little bit, because although I thought Herogasm was a perfectly decent episode and had some good stuff in it, it was actually my least favorite episode of the season thus far.
I fully agree with that, but
which is not necessarily common from what I'm hearing from other fans of The Boys. And if I'm not mistaken, you disagree with us, Robert.
I like the episode. My only complaint on it is going into it, what little I knew of the comics, the Hero storyline, I thought it was going to be some big ass convention. I thought that's what it was in the comics. It was at a convention center that was Wars type of thing. I'm expecting this at the Anaheim Convention Center, next to Star Wars Celebration. It's just the next room over type of thing. I was expecting something huge. No, we got what essentially was a private party at someone's house, and I was like, all right. I mean, what I was expecting to see in some form or another, I still saw. In fact, don't we have a clip of it? Let's run a clip. No clips from this. Okay.
No, because of
anyways, what I was expecting to see,
so many gadgets.
I still saw. with both my eyes, all 4 of them to be exact. But like, I was just expecting a much grander scale, so that kind of let me down. That I was just, let's be honest, they said it was a giant superhero orgy, and my mind went wild with the possibilities of what that could look like. And this episode did not meet what my sick, perverted mind was thinking.
Giant doesn't mean it happens in one house. There are way more superheroes than were in that house.
I mean, there could be a backyard and a tool shed. Who knows?
But well, if there was a backyard and a tool shed, then a lot of plot points from this episode should have been noticed before they happened. Also,
do they need to be though? Do they?
I mean, what did you think was going to happen? Also,
do we have the time for this? Like, how X-rated do we want this to go? Because I have some thoughts.
I really wish we could post a clip of just the mother, or like the MM part.
Oh God.
Lather. It's great. It's so perfect. I absolutely died laughing. I was like, this is fucking funny.
I was gonna say it's interesting because whether or not it's a function of us setting too high of expectations for ourselves and us ultimately letting the show down, there's still a lot of good stuff in this episode. I think it still really hits well in the emotional beats and in some of the revelations, and we're going to dive all into that now. But I wanted to note the creator of the show, Eric Kripke, tweeted, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the direct quote, something to the effect of, maybe we overpromised the antics of the Herogasm, but we definitely did not overpromise the emotional moments. And I think
that's kind of what I just said, right? I mean, that's what it sounded like, right? I mean,
yeah,
exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Congratulations, Eric Kripke.
And I think one of the reasons why The Boys is such a good show,
I should write a TV show, apparently,
is it has a little of everything for all kinds of viewers. It has the action moments, it has the sex and all that stuff, but it does hit hard with the character work and emotional moments. So Amber, why don't you take us into some of the points we want to discuss in this episode?
All right. So very important moments in the episode. Obviously, the episode opens and closes with a video. I thought that was a very interesting thing. The opening video was a satire of Gal Gadot's Imagine video.
COVID Imagine video, like, so shallow,
so cringe.
I was like, it was cringe then. It's cringe now, and they know.
I love the fact that they got actual celebrities in on this again. Like, after the backlash of Gal Gadot's video, how do the people who are creating The Boys, I mean, I'm gonna guess it was probably Seth Rogen reaching out to his friends, but still, how do you go like, hey, you remember that giant like Gal Gadot Imagine video that everyone hated? We're gonna do that again. Do you want to be a part of this?
I almost wonder if they tried to get Gal or some of the other people who are in the real one to appear in this one, because
I would have loved to have seen Gal
at this point. These people have a good sense of humor about how tone deaf that video was.
Oh,
I would have died had Gal Gadot appeared in that video at the beginning of this.
I mean, especially because she already is a superhero.
Yes, she is.
So, I mean, Wonder Woman, and then to appear on The Boys, perfect. But
especially if she's just like in casual clothes, but she's Wonder Woman tiara, that would be fantastic.
I know, right? Like, or even just like,
would hate it. Warner Brothers would not allow it at all whatsoever, but it still would have been funny.
Mental. Also, like, Black Noir cut his tracker out.
Yeah.
He's real twitchy.
He is terrified of Soldier Boy.
He heard Soldier Boy's out and he's like, fuck this, and
like, deuces.
And you know, there's a reason why, but we're going to talk about that later, because this is a 2-part episode. For our episode, we're talking about 2 episodes.
Wait, can we get to Black Noir's part though? Because that was so great.
So great. We'll get there soon.
Off to next.
I think we would be doing a disservice to Herogasm if we didn't spend a few minutes talking about the myriad and various gasms.
First off, How many superheroes have really long cocks?
No, it's the same one. I think that's Love Sausage.
Oh
That
my
was
God,
that was all
so
love
weird.
sausage.
It doesn't. I don't
We
like
just
it.
see his.
I don't like it.
Dong a
It
lot.
doesn't make sense to me. It's gross. Like, chill out,
I
guys.
don't
Okay, so
I don't like it.
the tiny man walking into the normal sized penis in the first episode, or Love
Termite.
Sausage.
The
Well, speaking of termite,
I think I dislike Love Sausage more. Like once Termite was inside the vast deferens of the guy, like that was no big deal. But once he had crawled in, once he had popped through the pee hole, I had no problem with it.
no, I
But
almost
seeing
wonder.
that weird CGI like uncircumcised penis floating around, like, "Hi, how are you doing? I'm great. How are you?"
You know,
Am I watching this? Is this really
I
happening?
wonder if Love Sausage's Love Sausage is long enough that Termite could run a marathon in there.
Questions you never knew you needed answers to, but now, fuck, you need an answer to it.
This is going to show up on Twitter later. I'm so sorry.
There's all sorts of other stuff happening at Herogasm. We actually find out that Soldier Boy and Liberty were the ones who originated it back in the day.
Y'all
and
remember
now
who Liberty is?
Why does Liberty sound so familiar?
Stormfront?
Liberty
Oh,
and
that's right. That was Stormfront's original name. Yeah.
Finkel is Einhorn. Liberty is Stormfront.
I have the
Finkel is
greatest
Einhorn.
word.
Einhorn is Finkel.
I don't think-
Einhorn's a man. Yeah. Is there a problem with Einhorn being a
now
man? You have a problem with that?
Twins who were in Soldier Boy's team
TNT.
are carrying it up. The TNT twins, and they're gross, and I don't like them.
The Wonder Twins.
Mother's Milk is there. He gets covered from head to toe in semen. It's disgusting. I feel so bad for him.
And he's talking about his nice jacket right before. It's like, ugh.
It's gotta
Yeah,
watch.
right before, like, well, I think it was like Termite that bumps into him. He's like, "What is this fluid on my? This is a nice leather jacket," and he's all worried about that. And then he just straight get covered in father's milk, and like it's just so gross. Like, the thing with this show.
This is-
That's it. We're
That's
done.
it. We're done. Good
Father's
night.
milk.
Thanks for watching, Ember. See you next time.
The thing with this show is they've been really good at having these like all of a sudden holy shit moments come out of nowhere.
Yes.
And this one
certainly did come.
came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it really did, didn't it?
He opened the door and just bloosh.
I'm always fascinated by the filmmaking process, and I love practical effects and disgusting things. I gotta find out what they used because it looked pretty spot on.
It looked
Did
like,
you see the
honestly,
behind the scenes video?
No,
There's a behind the scenes video of what's the actor's
Alonso?
name?
Laszlo.
Laz Alonso. There's a shot of him opening the door, and then you see the cannon on the other side of the door just shot this like white glue stuff on him. It's so funny. And there's all the lights and cameras behind it. Just
The only thing I can think of, it's like, it's either I don't think they could do anything sugary because that would attract bugs probably.
that was really strange.
What?
No, keep going.
Okay. So I don't think they could use anything sugary, but maybe like cornstarch and water.
Cornstarch isn't viscous enough.
If you
it's cornstarch with
cornstarch, I think
like baking soda or something.
cornstarch,
Maybe.
baking soda, and
What is it that we did back in like grade school where you make oobleck? It's like whatever the oobleck substance is. I think it's like cornstarch and like corn syrup, something like that.
it's something like that. Yeah, like it. So I really want to know how they did that. It's a really cool effect, but
It
also
is.
incredibly gross.
So, like I want to replicate it. I don't want to replicate. I just want to know.
Yeah, I just want to know. I like things.
Halloween's coming. I have costume ideas. Just...
Oh God, no.
Oh, I mean-
no.
No, don't eat your.
Oh no, I can't do that. That means I would have to go in blackface. I don't want to do that. No.
What? I mean, there were other gasms, correct? There
Yeah.
was a lot of stuff going on. a
Yeah,
lot of
another
people-
gasm
Oh!
of note is the deep fucking the octopus.
Yes!
He finally did it.
That was so.
I was like,
And That and the ice penis.
Oh yeah.
The ice.
Yeah, where the dude made like a dick out of ice. Like, I'm not a woman. I have no real understanding of how that stuff works because I'm not a woman, and that's okay. I don't have to.
It melts.
Shoving a gigantic ice dick into an orifice does not sound pleasurable.
Into an orifice.
I'm trying to figure out how to say what I want to say without being too revealing. It melts. Everything melts.
Yeah.
And
The human body is typically at 98.6 degrees, and that's usually like the temperature
Dr.
inside
Robert.
the human body.
But I mean, the thing is, you feel it more near the outside than the inside.
I feel like
So-
that would be kind of like when you chew an ice cube and you get brain freeze.
I've never had vagina freeze.
Anyway, so while all of
Shoved
this,
an ice cube in there. Don't answer that. Just anyways.
while all this is going on at the house, A Train shows up.
I was like, do we have a clip of all this? No, still no clip. No clip still. Oh, okay.
Still no clips.
You can be okay.
Yeah, A Train is at the gasm, right? And couple interesting things happen. Huey and him have an altercation, but Huey's on temp V, so Huey gets to slap him, even though A Train apologizes. And I almost feel like there was some sincerity in that apology. But you know who else is at the gasm?
Blue Hawk
Hmm.
and A Train season, and A Train's mad because what did Blue Hawk just do? He injured his brother
Severely.
So
A Train, what does A Train do, Robert?
A Train grabs Blue Hawk and goes for a jog. Like, hey,
A
come
jog?
talk with me. Let's go out for a run. No, A Train grabs Blue Hawk and drags him across, like through the street, as if A Train was a white dude in a pickup truck with the black guy tied to the bumper dragging him, like they did in the old-timey South, I guess. Whatever the time period is, but
they
like it's
definitely-
kind of a flip on that whole racial thing, which was interesting for them to do.
They still do it today.
It is an interesting visual.
Oh yeah, well, fuck this world. Society sucks.
Really.
Racist people. What the?
It's an interesting visual, but it brings up a really interesting talking point, as this show so often does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a viewer, I don't like A Train because he's done a lot of shitty things, right?
Yeah.
But the show is also using superheroes to dismantle the systemic racism that occurs in this country and how it manifests in police violence and all of this sort of stuff. So to see A Train flip the script, get really gruesome revenge on someone who very clearly act racistly and cause severe violence to his family member, has a certain poignancy to it that even for a second made me, who doesn't like A Train, again, because the show starts with him killing Huey's girlfriend and he's a shitty guy, I've had some empathy for him and for the catharsis and vindication he must have felt in that moment. Of course, the laughs on him, he has a heart attack and is just sort of lying there struggling on the side of the road next to Blue Hawks.
I literally thought he was dead. I was like, oh.
Yeah. The episode led you to believe that he died because they told him before, if you use your powers again, you're very likely going to have a heart attack and die. So he used his powers again, had a heart attack, and we don't see him for the rest of the episode. We're led to believe he probably died, which, I mean, still, given the situation, that's a good way to go.
I don't know if I ever articulated this on our show prior, but it felt inevitable to me that he would end up using his powers again. And I found myself wondering what would be reason enough to do it. And this makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And it speaks to the fact that normally like the flip of the script comes so I don't know, it comes at you so hard because like you said, it's very easy to not like this man because he's caused a lot of the issues that have, like, he's not Homelander, but he's caused a mess, and he's continually caused messes because he wants to stay in favor. The problem is that it's usually the people in power who have that control, and he's one of those people that is technically supposed to be in power because he's a superhero, but it's very clear that he's not, because he gets an entire like ass reaming from Ashley early in the episode.
I think it's interesting you put it that way because one of the other things we see in this episode is Homelander talking to a reflection of himself.
Yeah.
Which reminded me a lot of Norman Osborn / Green Goblin and Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man film. Of course, Anthony Starr is incredible in this scene, but I think one of the themes of this episode and the following one and what this whole season is building to is, as powerful as these people are, they are losing control.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're so used to always being in control, because they're able to assert their powers, they don't know how to handle that. So they're losing their sanity and their grip on reality. And I think that's exactly what's happening in that moment where Homelander is talking to himself and himself is talking back and yelling at him. He doesn't know how to process not being in control.
I get the comparison to Green Goblin, Norman Osborn. I was also thinking a lot along the lines of Gollum and Smeagol.
Oh,
yes,
absolutely.
And
yeah, that whole shot of like where the camera literally changes the position between the two of them.
and
It was a lot of that where it's just his own inner self talking to him. That, yeah, granted, you have a mirror, much like Norman Osborn and Green Goblin did, but
I feel very strongly that Anthony Starr should be in the conversation for a supporting actor Emmy nomination. And it's interesting to note, folks, the Emmy nominations come out in next week, but The Boys was not eligible because it premiered after the cutoff date. So this season of The Boys will be eligible for the Emmys that will air in 2023.
which is by that time people are going to forget about it.
Maybe yes, maybe no. I mean, it works. They submit it, and there could be buzz and panels. But anyways, so yeah, we're seeing all these superheroes lose control. But this sort of brings us to what I would say is the sort of centerpiece highlight moment of the episode, something we've been talking about here for a long time that felt inevitable, the showdown between Soldier Boy and Homelander. And what's fascinating about this too is both Huey and Butcher, especially Butcher, are hopped up on temp fee. So, you know, Butcher has this altercation with Mother's Milk, and we're going to get to that into a bit. But Soldier Boy and Homelander have this incredible hoedown, throwdown, boom, clap, boom to clap to clap. I don't know why.
Why was that that was a choice. Any stay in there.
Any opportunity to reference the Hannah Montana movie, I will take it.
Fuck it, we're going live. We're going live.
Roll the clip. Roll the clip.
Roll that beautiful green footage.
Wait, is there a clip of Herogasm? I want to see a clip. Is there a clip? No clip?
It becomes clear that Homelander is slightly more powerful than Soldier Boy. And that unless he is provoked to the point of exploding, Soldier Boy may not be able to get the win.
I actually kind of disagree.
I kind of do too.
I think
I think
more powerful, but he's not in control. Whereas Homelander has full control of his powers, just not of his mental facilities.
Okay.
And then I would say
in that realm.
I would say that fight looked more like Homelander managed to get a lucky shot in, and due to perfect timing, understood that was his shot to piece the fuck out and fly out. Otherwise, yes, he knows he would have had his ass beat.
Well,
I think that they're evenly matched.
Well, that brings me to what I was going to say is I actually think Butcher and Homelander are evenly matched, with Butcher on temp fee. So obviously Homelander is shocked that Butcher has powers, And it brings up this whole interesting conversation and something that's been running through my head a lot of when it seems that the odds are insurmountable, are you willing to quote unquote stoop to the levels of your enemy to win? And I think one of the interesting parallels we're seeing between all these different characters is their philosophy and approach in how to best dismantle the Supes who are evil. But what was so great, I think, about this fight with Homelander, Soldier Boy, Huey, Butcher, is even though these people have incredible superpowers, it still felt like a pretty gritty, street level, let's just punch the hell out of each other fight. They weren't like, there were some flying and some laser eyes and all this stuff. It was still very much a superhero fight, but it wasn't like Clash of the Titans in the sky going at each other. It was in the house and they were just punching.
I have it. I have the metaphor. It was Captain America and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And not Wanda and Vision.
Correct.
I got another one. Anyone who's also been watching the Obi-Wan show, this was the first showdown between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader when they had the fire between them. That was what this was, and you're like, oh fuck yeah, bring it, give it to me, I want this. And then like the next episode, the last episode,
Mother's Milk opened the door.
Yes, give it to me.
Give it to me.
That's not what I meant.
Well, like, so the big thing about Soldier Boy, and I do think that Soldier Boy is relatively evenly matched. I just think he's not fully in control, because anytime anything happens like that triggers him with Russian anything.
Yeah, Love Sausage has a Russian accent.
Yeah, Russian music in that episode, like he loses it and he
explodes.
He explodes
and kills so many people. Homelander had escaped. Huey and Butcher and Mother's Milk and Annie get out. Butcher squashes Termite.
Yeah, that was actually really good.
That was funny.
It was great.
Real quick, and I know we'll probably talk about this again when we cover the next episode. I have another theory about Soldier Boy. There's something in certain gas or vapor that is also detrimental to him, because the video that we saw when he was like conquered or whatever back in the day, it was a gas. Granted, Mother's Milk threw a gas at him, had no effect on him. But then the next episode during the cartoon thing, they do show they threw a mask over Soldier Boy's face and gassed him, and that's what knocked him out also. There's some kind of gas also that can defeat him.
Yeah. And then one of the biggest moments of the episode, and the one that actually, this was the thing that shocked me.
Most heroes don't care about you. Homelander is the worst of them.
So the part that really kind of got me in the episode was the fact that Annie goes live on like Votgram, Instavot, whatever. Yeah, that
Boyzometer. I don't know.
Say Votrim.
Votgram, not Votram.
Votram.
But she goes live to all of her followers and talks about the like Vought being crazy and Homelander being crazy and, you know, him going off the literal deep end. And so she upends everything and quits the Seven. And then by the end of the episode, you see that there are two very obvious factions, because Annie has always been part of the boys. But you see that there's a dividing line between two groups of thought, really. Yeah. You have Annie and MM, who are more pacifists. They don't want to harm people. They don't believe in using Temp V. And then you have Butcher and Huey, who are just fine with using Temp V and, you know, making very, very, I guess, aggressive decisions to help their quote cause. And it's all because Huey got a taste of it. Plus he's mad at people like, you know, Vicky, her, Newman. Like
Newman. Nadia.
So yeah, like it's kind of crazy.
It's the classic debate on how to handle business. It's the Magneto Professor X debate when you really think about it.
Yeah.
Which obviously stems back to MLK and Malcolm X. How do you beat an enemy that's impossible to beat? With strategy and intelligence, or with violence? Do you meet violence with violence? And
Yeah.
I've done some reading on this, and it's been interesting to hear everyone's thoughts. And I feel Butcher's always been a problematic guy, right?
Yeah.
He is not a good man. And we'll get into some stuff in a bit when we talk about the next episode that really illuminates some of his past and why he is the way he is. But Huey, it was really the audience surrogate character from the get-go, right? And this season, we've slowly seen him turn a little bit to the dark side and kind of be an asshole. Now, do I begrudge him? I don't know, because Homelander is horrible and these superheroes are awful, and whatever they're trying to do thus far is not working. So sometimes taking extreme measures. But, you know, he has this fight with Annie, and their friction is building and building, and he is acting kind of like a dick, whether it's the influence of the V, whether it's once you get a taste of power, it corrupts you. Huey is shedding some of what made him such a lovable character, some of that innate Huey-ness, and basically becoming Butcher Jr.
Yeah, and like it's one of those things where I actually saw a Kripke tweet too, and he discusses how Huey has gone over to the dark side because he liked the taste.
Yeah.
He liked the taste of finally having a little bit of power in a world where he's the weakest one. And that actually makes a lot of sense, because out of everybody in the boys, Huey is the weakest one.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a scene earlier in the season where he gets mad that he can't open a jar and has to have Annie do it. So he obviously is struggling with his feelings of every character on the show being the physically at least weakest.
But what's interesting is kind of like his reasoning behind it has still been, if not like sound and reasonable, it's been something that we've seen in superhero movies before, where like when Annie first confronted him about using the V24, like, hey, why are you doing this? I can protect both of us. And he's like, but I want to protect you. I want a chance to protect you. And she's like, I don't care about that though. That's not important to me. It's a really good dichotomy that has happened numerous times in comic books, and therefore the movies and TVs based off of comic books. How many times have we seen a superhero or a superpowered person in a relationship with the other one, and the other person who's not superpowered somehow at some point gets superpowers, and we have the same exact conversation?
And I think it's interesting, more interesting maybe, when it is in a heteronormative relationship as this one is, when it's the woman who has the powers and the man who doesn't, right? And so there's elements of sort of like inherent casual misogyny, emasculation. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm the man, I'm the one who needs to protect you.
Well, and as the female here, I can safely say I've been met with that exact, you know, emotion in my past in relationships. By no means are we super powered, but you know, there have definitely been situations where, I mean, even me getting a better job than my partner, like that's it literally served to, instead of a point of pride for my partner, it was, well, but why do you get this and I don't? And I'm like, what do you mean, why do you, what? No, that's not how we think. And so I kind of understand. I really understand her point of view there.
Yeah.
The only thing is, like, I still want to give Huey that, like, that benefit of the doubt, because he's,
well,
in terms of character building, he's still a child compared to all these adults.
The thing about Huey, and we'll talk about this a little bit more when we dive into the next episode, which we're going to do real soon, is we talked about how physically he's the weakest character. I would make the argument that at least out of all of the non-powered characters in the show, he's one of the strongest in terms of his passion and goodness. And he is, to a certain extent, naive and innocent, maybe less innocent now. I think one of the through lines of the show has been Huey's slow descent and loss of innocence, but he wants to do the right thing. He gets a taste of the dark side, so to speak, and buys into it. But as soon as episode 7, we see him appealing to people's goodness once again.
Yeah,
So-
and I think the hardest thing with that is that like he's still such a good character because he's doing the wrong thing for what he feels to be justifiable and right reasons. And that's a very, very hard line to toe, because you can't tightrope walk bad for good. And it's not a thing. And that's where we come into the next episode, because there's a lot about Huey and some things that happen in this episode that I want to talk about. But we're going to start off by kind of, like the immediate open is the literal reaction. For episode 7, Here Comes a Candle to Light You to Bed.
What a great title.
Oh my God, it's so good.
To go from Herogasm to something as elegant as Here Comes a Candle to Light You to Bed is like, this show is wild.
Like that sounds like poetry. Here comes a candle to light you.
It's all like song
Bed.
titles and poems. Like, and the whole season pretty much,
And
other than, like,
Herogasm.
Barbary Coast and Herogasm has been filled with those. And it's absolutely amazing. It looks to be from a nursery rhyme called Oranges and Lemons.
Oranges and lemons, say the bells of St. Clemens. You owe me 5 farthings, says the bell of St. Martin's. When will you pay me, say the bells at Old Bailey. When I grow rich, says the bells at Shoreditch. When will that be, say the bells of Stephanie. I do not know, says the great bell at Bow. Here comes a candle to light you to bed, and here comes a chopper to chop off your head. Chip chop, the last man is dead.
I wonder if that's like, so was that done on purpose, and what is that alluding to? Because I know a lot of TV shows, they've done stuff like that where they'd put a name of a poem or a short story or something, and come to find out throughout the course of that story, that movie, that episode, it kind of like simulates what was in that poem, that short story.
So it's like a London Bridges game, like, and so I think that's very, very cool. So the chopper to chop off your head is like the bridge falling down, basically. So you go under an archway in pairs of 2, and then I read that like really fast. I think that's like ridiculously interesting.
Me too.
Because for them to use the first part that's so docile and sweet, and to know what comes after it is, here comes a chopper to chop off your head. Chop! And it's just like, oh, that's juxtaposition in the, like, so some crazy shit is coming.
Maybe the chopper, and we'll talk about this, maybe the chopper who's coming to chop off the head is Black Noir.
Interesting.
So, but yeah, we're dealing with the immediate aftermath of Annie's going
Yes.
live. And as would be expected, these Vought MFers and Ashley are twisting the narrative, lying out of their teeth, and making Annie out to be the bad guy, to the point that they're accusing her of grooming and sex trafficking. Stop me if you've heard this one before. These are the literal GOP talking points today when anyone dares oppose them.
Gosh, it just gets more and more political.
It gets more and more political, and there is part of me, if I'm being fully honest, who wonders if, here's the thing. A show with an episode called Herogasm probably cannot be too on the nose. The Boys is so on the nose that it like goes back on itself and it just becomes subtle again.
But I mean, even it's subtle in all of its lack of subtlety. It just literally.
It is maximalist, maximalism.
You can do this. Believe in you.
Maximalist entertainment.
From somebody named Maxwell.
Yeah, what's your name again?
My name is
like this.
My name is Swell.
Like, I get that that this show is like really subtle and really on the nose, but I think we can all agree at least Soldier Boy has a really good opinion of Bill Cosby.
Yes, he does.
That was that was both funny and like awkwardly forced at the same time.
And you're like,
He makes those strengths really strong.
Speaking of Soldier Boy, we sort of find out in this episode, because they are hanging out with the legend again, that so much of what everyone knows about Soldier Boy is a lie. Yeah, he stormed the beaches of Normandy a week after D-Day.
Yeah.
You know,
I was here.
He was there for photo ops, but anyways, he had his involvement in the JFK assassination. The legend was basically, you know, manipulating the public into believing things. And he has this quote that I think so perfectly sums up the American way of life. He says, the thing is, to be American means knowing you're the hero. So what do? We sweep all our filthy shit under the rug and we tell ourselves a myth like Soldier Boy. And I get stinking rich selling it.
that's the myth, guys.
That is the American way
there
of
it
life
is.
in
Credits.
2022.
Bye. And we don't even need to talk about anything else. We did it.
But one of the other funny things about Soldier Boy is his joy over marijuana being legal now. He's like, I put so many people behind bars for this back in the day, and now you can just go and buy it. And that's fun. That's fun.
Thank you, Robert, for
Accentuating that comment.
But I think we need to talk
I'm in Texas. This isn't real marijuana. Just okay.
just a little bit about Black Noir and his animation hallucinations.
Just a little bit. We'll talk about this just a tiny bit. This is the whole fucking episode.
like, honestly, there's so much in the episode, or like there's a decent amount of stuff in the episode that's amazing, but this blew my mind. I'm on a plane at 7:00 this morning watching this episode by myself in my own little echo chamber, and this is happening, and I'm like,
I love it when shows break their form. This is something Eric Kripke did a lot with Supernatural. He would do episodes where it's such a deep homage to something else that the episode takes on the tone of that. In fact, he did an an animated episode. He wasn't really involved with the show anymore at this point, but it's still taking his lead. They did an animated episode of Supernatural where the characters met the Scooby Gang, and it's all animated.
Oh yeah.
Scooby-Doo. So great. So to see animation be used as a function in an Eric Kripke related project is not so out of pocket, but
especially with Diabolical coming out.
Right. But it's still such a surprise. And this really bookends, not even bookends, but it's interstitially weaved throughout the entire episode. You know, we find out Black Noir in the last episode takes out his tracker. He's terrified of Soldier Boy. And we really find out what happened with the Russians, with Soldier Boy, with Liberty, what all that went down with animated talking animals, some voiced by our characters. Like we got a Stan Edgar in there. We have Soldier Boy in there, Black Noir in there.
All of them were voiced by their characters.
Yeah. And then we have this like raccoon or was it a squirrel or I don't know, this weird creature.
The beaver. It was the beaver.
His best friend, who is the mascot of the pizza place. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the it's like.
I wonder if it's from all of
it's a double entendre, something beaver.
It's
like eating beaver or something.
I applaud the show for doing this. It tickled my senses. That's so pretentious. It was dope.
Buster Beaver, not eating beaver. Hey, eating beaver, busting beaver, same thing.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. It's honestly, it's one of the best ways for them to be able to do the gore, especially because Black Noir's story has a lot of gore in it, and like you get like a whole chunk of cartoon brain laying on the ground, and you're just like, oh, that happened. That's there. Okay.
So good.
It was amazing. Guys, if you're watching this and you haven't seen that, what the fuck are you doing right now? Go watch that. It's so good.
One of the things we talked about in Herogasm is this trend of these superpower people losing control. And I just really quickly want to touch on how we finally see what Maeve has been up to. And she's basically been in captivity. Homelander's holding her prisoner. And she has a line that I think really sets the scene. She says, "Today is still a top 3 day in my life because today is the day I saw you scared." Because
and you can see it in
He
his
came in
eyes.
with the bruise, and she was asking
Homelander
if
is
there's like
scared
makeup.
of Soldier Boy. Homelander is scared of Butcher being hopped up on powers. Homelander is scared of Annie going out there and saying these true things that he knows are true.
Speaking of,
For the first time, Homelander's life is crumbling around him, and this straight, rich, powerful, white, objectively good-looking person is losing it. And
Well,
this
I
is
mean,
fascinating to
and
watch.
he was already a head case.
Oh yeah.
But like, I mean, I think it comes from being the center of everybody's affection and adoration. But you know, and being bred for this, like he was made for this. That goes into, obviously, the episode opens literally with Vought trying to smear campaign Annie.
Mhm.
They're saying she's like, you know, sex trafficking and doing all these things, and it's like, it's so nasty. But then remember how we said a few minutes ago that we thought A-Train died? Well, he didn't.
Damn it.
Oh.
The next thing you see is A-Train in the hospital having had a heart transplant.
Whose heart did they give him?
Oh my gosh, you want to know? Like, Ashley comes in, tells him, you know, oh, like you're safe, you're alive. We gave you Blue Hawk's heart. So now he lives on as a piece of you. And the way she says it, and then she's like super chipper. Colby Minifee deserves awards for making me hate her so much. If I could give away awards, I'd be like,
she is
my
least, not only my least favorite character on the show, but maybe my least favorite character I've seen in anything this year. More than Homelander, more than Vecna, more than anyone on Obi-Wan, more than she is so good at being this just awful, opportunistic, immoral piece of garbage.
Like, you can't help but
I thought it was funny
Ashley.
when Ashley is there saying how now that he's back, they should make this like gritty origin movie where Tom Hanks could play his running coach or some bullshit.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
When
And
he
I'm
was
like,
like, but
wow.
my running coach was my brother. Like, yeah, but we'll get Tom Hanks to play him. Like, you're gonna whitewash his brother after giving him a racist dude's heart? Yeah, good luck with that.
Yes, they are, because
Oh my god.
Awful.
but like, it's absolutely wild how that one goes down. And she's just, it's a complete 180 because she goes off on him before he kills, like, or yeah, she goes off on him in the first like in episode 6 in Herogasm.
Yeah.
So now she's like super chipper and like, ah. But then she sticks it to the man by saying, yeah, and you have his heart. Bye.
I'm really surprised that A-Train just didn't like use his last bit of energy and just rip her fucking head off. Yeah.
I would have ripped the
Yes.
heart out. I'd have been like, bye, see you later.
Like
Hey, look, here's another heart.
like a Temple of Doom moment.
Kind of makes me wonder what we're gonna see from, what we're gonna see from A-Train by the end of this.
Yeah.
Like,
So
is he gonna live this out, or is he gonna dip?
I'm going to guess. I have a really strong feeling he's probably going to join up with the boys.
I don't think they're gonna let him.
I don't think they're going to let him,
I think
but he'll well, let's say we still got one more episode, and that's the finale for
Yeah.
this season.
This was the penultimate episode.
Yeah, I think A-Train's going to show up trying to help them out. They're not going to let him. He's going to end up still, regardless of what they say, he's still going to come in like in the final moments and help save, and he's going to get killed.
He has
That's my
helped him
theory.
Before he gave Huey the file about Stormfront being a Nazi.
That's right. It's been
Oh.
been so long for so many things because we had such a COVID hiatus that Like, if you try to talk about Stranger Things season 3 stuff other than it happened in Starcourt Mall, and there was a lot of best friend stuff.
Not to sidetrack, but did you hear when season 5's coming out? 2 years from now. Yay!
I mean, it takes a lot of time and money to film epic television.
I get that, but what were y'all doing during the pandemic?
Maybe it'll be like January of 2024. Anyways,
yeah.
So
Beside the point.
the main like adventure in this episode is the team of Huey, Butcher, and Soldier Boy trying to find Mindstorm. Mindstorm was another member of the team. And the deal that Soldier Boy has made with them is, if you help me find all the members of my team to kill him, then I'll help you kill Homelander.
Right.
Mindstorm has fascinating powers. He can
Literally cause a mindstorm.
literally cause a mindstorm where you get trapped in your own nightmare and die of dehydration. He can also sort of control people's behavior. And at one point, Huey has a line that's like, I'm done. I don't do exorcist shit. And I thought all of this was really fascinating because Butcher gets trapped in a mindstorm. And we get to see his nightmares, which are essentially flashbacks to his deeply, deeply traumatic childhood. I give Butcher a lot of shit, right? He is a good guy in terms of the show, but he's a piece of shit in his tactics of being a good guy. Don't get me wrong. Carl Urban's incredible, and he's a great character to watch. I love Butcher. I also love to hate him sometimes. And this, for me, was a really beautiful, elegant way of the writers giving the audience insight into why Butcher is the way that he is.
And you've gotten insight before, but never like this.
No, never. It's only been verbal, right? And
Yeah.
we saw a little bit throughout this season images of Butcher's brother. And we finally find out that Butcher's going to go off to war, and their father is deeply, deeply abusive. And his brother says something like, everyone you love leaves you, and then shoots himself in the head. And Butcher watches this happen.
Yeah.
So honestly, like, if I had experienced that, I'd probably be a right cunt too. I get it. I get it.
And like, I mean, it doesn't necessarily justify
No,
it
it doesn't
but
excuse
totally,
it, but it makes sense.
Totally makes sense. And you can't help but feel just broken for him.
Yeah.
Like, which sucks because you feel the same thing for somebody like A-Train, and it doesn't translate fully because you know he's an asshole, but it's the same thing for Butcher.
I really love this episode for this reason, and also for what they do with Huey, because at the end of Herogasm, I was pretty annoyed with both of these characters, and it was sort of almost like we're at a point where, like, well, who really are we supposed to be rooting for here?
Yeah.
Not that every piece of entertainment needs someone to root for, right? This can be a fascinating character study, but when you're dealing with the archetypes of superheroes and bad guys and good guys, they're clearly positioning people for you to root for. And Huey has this great moment where he's able to rationalize with Mindstorm and convince Mindstorm to take Butcher out of this nightmare. And then he promises Mindstorm that he will teleport him to wherever he wants to go. They're both naked. It's really funny. And we see Huey's humanity again. We see that goodness and that innocence that makes him such a fun and compelling character. We see the guy that Annie fell in love with and that we as the audience fell in love with, and not this craven V24 addicted guy who's becoming more and more like Butcher with every passing week.
Like, that's Huey right now. He's like, you gotta need that V, but
hey, y'all got any more of that V24? That'd be great.
Well, listen, speaking of that V24 and me talking about how I feel like I have a better understanding of Butcher now and maybe a little more patience for some of his bullshit, he goes and does something that puts him right back on my shit list. So Annie goes, let's backtrack a little bit. Kamiko wants her powers back.
mm-hmm.
And this is really fascinating for so many reasons, because previously when she lost her powers,
she was glad to be rid of them.
She's glad to be rid of them, but already she wants them back. Her and Frenchie have this really deep discussion about it. Her and Annie have this great moment. Kamiko has her first alcohol. It's all lovely, but Kamiko wants her powers back. And I'm really curious to see how that turns out. So Annie goes back to Vought Tower to steal some V for her, runs into Homelander. And she's playing it off like, listen, you kicked me out. I'm just here for my things. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. But she very smartly gets him to out loud admit to all of the awful things that she blamed him for doing in her live.
Yeah.
Upon which Annie, this clever son of a gun, reveals that she has had her phone filming him live the whole time.
Oops.
At which point he's like, you're not supposed to film us when we're running lines.
Greatest fucking deflection ever. I was like,
and the elevator doors close on his face while he has this look.
Yeah.
Bro,
It's
you've
just
been caught.
Everybody knows.
It's like, I don't remember the guy's name, but it's like, I'm blah, blah, blah. And this is To Catch a Predator. She's like, I'm Annie. And this is To Catch a Homelander. Hey,
and like,
I'm Annie January.
and the thing is, like, with Homelander, you know, one of the hardest things about this is that everybody has slowly fallen down, you know, the rabbit's hole with him. They've all, a lot of people have been, a lot of people have been taking his side, including Todd, which we did see that too.
God.
God, Todd. Fucking, it's always a,
we
it's always a
knew
dig at
this
Todd.
was coming. They were setting the seeds, and this show is always so good at giving us just enough in previous episodes so that when something happens later on,
it pays off.
The seeds were planted and it pays off. sees a photo on Instagram of Todd and MM's daughter at a Homelander rally. And they have this incredible argument outside, and it's an argument you have to think was had all over this country over the last 4 to 6 years of political differences. It's like, you can feel how you want to feel, but leave my kid out of it. And Todd is now arguing the talking points of Annie being a sex trafficker and a groomer, and it's just so icky.
And like, Todd is fully in with Homelander, and MM's farmer is literally like, no, you should have discussed that with me.
Yeah, and
she's not happy.
I really appreciated that. Of course, then punches Todd right in the face.
Well, because he said that he was an absentee dad, which he's not.
He's not, and I would have punched Todd. I want to punch Todd.
Yeah. The second he said that, I was like, oh, you about to get punched? Here it comes.
Can go live on Pluto. As far as
the thing I found interesting about this scene is how, like, what's sad about this scene too is how well it compares to real life. You have people like Todd who are under a veil, or they think they know what they're talking about, but they don't. And you can't, the thing that, like, Mother's Milk is compared to us is, say, like, if we do understand, hey, you are disillusioned, you have no idea what you're talking about, not even politically, just in general, it's, you don't know what you're talking about. I know the truth. I know what actually is happening. You are looking and sounding stupid every time you open your mouth. And then he hits him. I was like, yeah, okay, that's good.
The funny thing is, to play devil's advocate for 1 second, is the people saying the stuff that we're like, that's so stupid, you don't know what we're talking about, feel the same way about us, right?
And
that's why I was saying, not just politically, but just
no, I agree. But like,
people.
Okay, not just politically. Yeah. Take flat earthers, for example. There's a strong contingent of people out there who firmly believe the earth is flat, regardless of what the photos from the Hubble telescope have told us, regardless of what we know to be true. Science is real.
In my mind, I was actually
when I say things like I just said about the Hubble telescope, the Hubble telescope, and how science is real, and the space,
the Hubble bubble
like,
gum.
You're a moron. Anyways, so it's really interesting to see the show tackle this. But let's go back to Annie. Annie was at the tower to take the B, got Homelander caught, and I can't wait to see how that all unfolds in the finale. But she also finds out a little interesting piece of information, and it is the research about Temp V. After you've had between 3 and 5 doses of Temp V, you're going to get lesions and die.
Mhm.
And
Which, if
tells this
by
to
my
Butcher.
count,
And-
this would be like the third or fourth for Butcher.
Yeah.
And I think Butcher is one ahead.
Yeah, Butcher is probably on 4, and I think Huey's now on 3.
Mhm.
Yeah, Butcher's one
Wants
ahead.
Butcher to tell Huey, and Butcher's almost going to,
And then doesn't.
and then doesn't. And I was sitting there watching this, thinking to myself, God, what a roller coaster this episode is for Butcher, because it really got me back to a place where, even though I'm not thrilled with all of his actions, I understand him. I get it. And it's so
Yeah.
compelling. And then he goes and does this, and I'm like, fuck you, Butcher. Fuck you.
It's absolutely astonishing, and really worries me. Like, how are they going to fix this? And are our boys going to end up with permanent compound V, or are they going to?
Listen,
I mean,
we know for sure that the show's been picked up for a 4th season, but there's a lot of stuff that this finale is going to have that I think we're going to see a major death or two in the finale. I think this is going to
It
be
has to.
I think this is going to be the first time where we really see a main character on the show dying. You know, Stormfront died. We've lost characters here and there, but we have yet to lose a main cast member. And I really think in the finale that's going to happen.
they can't pull a Stranger Things anymore.
Yeah.
Main cast
Yeah,
member.
You have to kill off one of the major ones,
Season.
Yeah, but that's a trope of serialized storytelling.
but that has to happen. Otherwise, you will lose your audience going
Well,
into the
right.
next.
Well, I think all of a sudden you're sitting there thinking, well, this has no stakes. You know, if you
Yeah.
look at a show like Lost or Game of Thrones, those shows knew what they were doing in terms of keeping the stakes and the tension high by actually killing main characters.
One could say that Game of Thrones killed way too many main characters.
Maybe, you know, and it's interesting to bring up Game of Thrones just quickly. There has been some discussion, and we even talked about this, I think last week or the week before. Homelander is so increasingly evil and keeps getting away with so much. It's like, at what point does he stop being compelling and start being a character? And Homelander is veering dangerously into Ramsay Bolton territory.
Ooh. Oh my God, you're saying that wrong. I never thought about that. Also, I just wanted to bring up something before we hit our final major point, because the major point is huge. Can we talk about the fact that the Deep got into a threesome with an octopus and his wife and tried to get, like, the octopus touches his wife and she's like, nope, I'm out. Bye, divorce.
I'm gonna sit
like-
sit here in silence and ponder that for a second.
Sorry that took so long. I was busy thinking about octopuses.
That's fine.
Octopussy?
Octopussy. No, that's a James Bond movie.
Yeah, I know.
Speaking of Octopussy, what the fuck? That scene was like, oh,
It was so weird. Honestly, everything with his little cult wife has been weird. So I was kind of happy to see her go.
I don't know. The deep is.
Chase Crawford. He's great, but he has a task to play the most awkward TV character that there could be.
He's like, hey, wife, I really need you to let me fuck this octopus while you lie there naked.
I don't like his scenes or whatever, but every time he's on, I was like, all right, what weird shit are you gonna do this time?
Yeah.
It's literally
The thing is his character is supposed to be obviously a parody of like Aquaman. And of course there was that whole joke about Aquaman fucking the fish and whatnot. He is literally fucking the fish. The problem that I have with the Deep is this has been a joke, not only like before his character, again, this was a joke with Aquaman. So it's already a known joke, and now the Deep is actually doing that joke, and then keeps doing that joke, and then keeps doing that joke. Like, I'm actually kind of bored with this joke. It is funny.
I mean, I
I
don't
don't-
even know if it's a joke
Yeah,
now.
I don't even think it's a
I
joke.
think it's gone from being
No. I mean, it's a joke that was a joke that this character is actually doing. The joke is that he's
it's almost like a serious exploration of his own pain and trauma.
I mean,
yeah, but just he's
or his-
fucking an octopus.
I mean, but think about it this way, and I think the reason why I think it's gone from being a joke to a storyline, it shows that his powers and his ability to like in a lot of cases for people, sex is about communication and
Mhm.
comfortability, and he communicates with sea animals.
Ambrosia.
Yeah.
The
So-
octopus has a name. And
so, like-
when his wife goes, "How long have you been fucking it behind my back?" He's like, "It's not an it, it's a her. Get its pronouns right." And I'm like, he's worried about the octopus's pronouns. Fascinating.
I thought that was hysterical. I was
so
like, what?
so funny.
Yeah, and like it's a weird situation, but it's not one that we're outside seeing with the Deep.
hmm
And leave it to him to explore some weird kind of fucking emotional attachment to the charges of his power. Does that make sense? Like, it's not surprising, and it's another way that they push the limit.
Here's the thing that, like, I now at this very moment have to say about this show, and why I both love and hate the show. I love the show because of how wacky it is. I hate the show because it causes someone like Amber to logically explain why it's okay to fuck a fish.
Yep.
If anyone can do it, it's the Burr.
I mean, good job. You got me sold on the theory. I don't know if I'm rushing
You don't need to be sold on having sex with fish, Robert. God.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm running to PetSmart and checking out their
I'm
betas
very
tomorrow.
uncomfortable right now. Speaking of uncomfortable, the episode ends with
Let's go back to talking about Herogasm. Do we got a clip of that? Still no clip? No clip? No.
He's gonna
Why
kill
am
you.
I on the show?
no love sausage was hurt in the making of this recap. The episode ends with Black Noir on the hunt for Soldier Boy, and Soldier Boy revealing an incredible piece of information that he found out a little bit early in the episode from Mindstorm. Soldier
Luke
Boy,
is Darth Vader's
yes,
son.
Soldier Boy is Homelander's father, in so much as they did genetic experiments on Soldier Boy and used that to make Homelander.
And by genetic experiments, he came in a cup.
Right.
Which is
He also
awesome
figures
if you think
Homelander
back.
is what, 30? No, he's 40 now. He's about 40 years old now.
Yeah.
He looks like me. Yeah. If you think back to, like, towards the beginning of this episode, the conversation that Homelander was having with Maeve, where he was saying, like, I'm not gonna kill you, I'm keeping you alive. And he's like, I'm gonna harvest your eggs and I'm gonna make my son out of your eggs. Like, it's kind of like going back to this whole thing of Billy Butcher thinking he's becoming his father. Homelander's kind of becoming his father.
Ooh,
And
gross.
this puts a real crimp on a lot of things. You know, all of us here were theorizing that it was leading to a big showdown between Homelander and Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy even says in this episode earlier, like, you know, I didn't kill him because it wasn't the deal. I hadn't gotten all my people yet. And so you're led to think, and much like you said earlier, Robert, with like that fight being the first showdown between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, that there's going to be another one. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not, because Soldier Boy says to Homelander on the phone, you know, things have to go a little bit differently now. And that's terrifying, because if Soldier Boy and Homelander are on the same team with their power and their corruption together,
You can't
it's a
stop.
hell of a place to leave the episode. And from what I understand, is not at all in the comics. And I always find that the best adaptations are the ones that take the spirit and tone of the original work and then still make their own storytelling choices. And of course, we'll see how this plays out. But damn, I was excited by this twist and what could possibly come from it in next week's this week's, really, when you think about it, season finale.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is going to be wild. That they introduced this week's episode at least like a couple of hours early, I guess. I'm kind of hoping they do that again, because this would be nice. Coming home after watching Thor to immediately just start watching this. It's a great night of entertainment right there.
Just a little housekeeping note for our viewers: if possible, we're gonna try and get our review recap of the finale out earlier than we normally do. Hopefully we could have it out Friday or Saturday at the latest, instead of having to wait till the next week. But that about does it. We spent about the last hour or so talking about these 2 episodes of TV coming into the end of this season of The Boys. Thank you all so much for joining us. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, hit that alarm bell. In the description below is all of the places you can follow myself, Amber, and our very special guest, Robert Adams. Robert, do you have anything going on over at the Cine Fanatics you want to briefly talk about?
Ooh, you had to use the word briefly. Okay, well, you could just follow us at youtube.com/cinefanatics. We got a lot going on that cannot be briefly described. But if you like movies, that's where you should be at. You can follow us at Cinefanatics MLP on Twitter and Instagram. Follow me personally at Robert Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd.
Woo!
Thank you so much for joining us as always, Robert. Thank you for watching, for choosing to spend some of your time here with us. We will see you later this week with our thoughts on the finale of The Boys. Peace. Gasm.
Peace-gasm?
Peace gasm. Yeah.
That's what we all need. Peace.
Do we have a clip? Let's go to a clip.